course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them.
A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government.
Laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes.
And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government.
Dear Peter, the purpose of this letter is to present a series of observed issues and proposed solutions. We hope that communicating with you will lead to a fruitful discussion about how to advocate the core tenets of the Venus Project and the Zeitgeist movement, not only through education and communication, but through embracement and implementation, involving the community in all areas related to the movement, without anyone being subservient and left behind, seems to be the obvious way we should operate. Today communities exist because people share common values and goals. We believe that different perspectives should be encouraged, valued, and a general principle established that any angle is up for discussion, as long as the quest for knowledge is the common goal and appropriate arguments are presented. Various parts of this letter are linked to working documents, including examples of operating protocols, blueprints and proposals that are being actively developed within the movement. Many hours of thought and discussion have gone into the making of this presentation, and we write this simply because we need your help to put the proposed solutions below into practice. Since the inception of the ZeitgeistMovement.com website, an ever-growing core group of dedicated members have voluntarily assumed an immense workload, taking on a vast number of responsibilities. This level of contribution is commendable, but leaves less time to deal with unique and unforeseen challenges in a comprehensive way. When we are thus limited, certain decisions have to be made quickly and adhered to while we move on. Extended analysis and experimentation are often luxuries we cannot afford as individuals or small groups. We have many diverse priorities, and some issues are inevitably handled inadequately, because we simply do not have the resources to deal with them. However, there are many active members within this movement who do have the time, experience and willingness to constructively address our community's emerging social and technical complexities. The Zeitgeist movement community, as a whole, has the knowledge, human resources, technical capabilities and will to cooperatively overcome current and future challenges. In this note, We list some issues and then present solutions which we expect will significantly lower the workload for both the administrative team and yourself. 1. Problems. 1.1 The main website inhibits members from reaching the areas where they can advance in learning and action. 1.2 While there is a protocol wiki page for moderation, footnote 1.2a, it has never been completed. 1.3 The recent commotion surrounding some of the moderators, coupled with members of the moderation team being pulled away to projects, seems to have left the current moderation team understaffed and undiversified across the movement. Instances of frustration and loss of temper have been witnessed. Lacking time and resources, authority is likely to be used as a shortcut in the process of decision-making. Such power, however small, inevitably leads to instances of corrupt behavior in the name of moving forward. Footnote 1.3a. 1.4 Some global decisions, and suppression of software use, banning policy, have negatively affected the productivity and development of some projects throughout the community. Footnote 1.4a. Increasingly, decisions regarding PhysicsGeistMovement.com are having an impact in the greater movement, reaching beyond the domain of the server and into the community at large. Despite the notion that the website is not the movement, the strong connection is self-evident. The problem is intensified by the fact that only a few individuals currently exert global control over the movement, and decide who can remain a member and who cannot. Footnote 1.4b. The distinction between the community and your privately owned server is not clear in relation to these privileges. Footnote 1.4c. 1.5 People without field-specific competence are in positions to decide which projects get pursued and which tools are used. In addition, nothing resembling a peer review process exists within the current practice of decision-making. Footnote 1.5a. The express exclusion of certain community tools and discussion mediums is counterproductive, prohibitive, and ultimately unsustainable. It also leads directly to the perception of a dictatorship by many active members. As a result of these issues and more, we are witnessing an increasing number of users, contributors, and moderators suddenly deciding to throw in the towel and walk away from the movement. The Grandman Flow More, Champ. Footnote 1.5b. 2. Solutions. The solutions posed here are suggestions that can be tried and evaluated. If they do not help improving the functionality of the community, then new approaches will be devised and tested benefiting from the previous failures. The scientific process must incessantly be applied to all problems. It is a continuous effort, not a final frontier. 2.1 The Zeitgeist Movement website may not encompass the entirety of the movement, but it certainly is seen that way by the many members who contribute to the growth of the overall movement by specifically giving their time, energy, and passion to the site. The movement website is much more progressive and community-based than anything that preceded it. As such, it is self-evident that relevant solutions to most issues need to come directly from the community itself, which has given much more than is generally known. For example, Wiki, Google, Wave, numerous project threads, multimedia, etc. An up-to-date list of currently undergoing projects should be clearly visible in the main website, along with information on how they work and how to get involved with them. This way, new members will instantly see what is being worked on across the movement, learn how they can contribute, and gain a clear picture on our current state of overall progress. It can technically be implemented right now, if the website source code is more accessible than it is today. Footnote 2.1a. 2.2 A clear and concise protocol for moderation needs to be properly developed, with significant community input, and 2. To guide the moderation to a more teacher-oriented approach, including a section denoting moderator responsibilities to the community. Members of the moderation team should be asked to read and agree with it. Several months ago, there was a concerted push by several members and moderators to intentionally monitor the questions for radio show threads and search around the forum answering your members' questions. The result was that the majority of forum noise had quieted considerably in less than 1.5 months. Footnote 2.2a, 2.3 Patience and understanding are needed. If patience is lost, the moderator needs to step back and take the time to get their patience back, instead of overreacting. If the moderator is unable to handle a cumbersome member, for whatever reason, then the moderator should be required to ask for assistance from another moderator, or pass on the task of handling that particular issue to another moderator entirely. An increase in the number of teacher-minded moderators may help alleviate the tendency towards overstressed moderators. Patience and empathy need to be two of the primary requisites for moderator candidates. TeamSpeak 3, Mumble and Arc are already designed with relatively easy-to-use moderator controls for muting problematic users who need a little time to cool off. It already exists in other mediums within the movement. Some moderators might not want to use it where it's already available, but their personal preferences and emotional reactions should not guide their actions. Footnote 2.3a. Muting prevents posting, while still allowing users to read. As a result, most banning by moderators/admins is rendered obsolete. Moderation/leadership requires empathy and a large dose of patience to perform the functions adequately. Banning, as a moderation option, should only be applied to issues of site security, hack attempts, serious physical threats, etc., with the use of the new mute function handling the rest. If no sensitive information is posted in the public medium, for example forum, that can be used to harm the posters, then no harm can come from a muted user to the community, while some good can go to the offending user by means of teaching by example. Users are still able to educate themselves using our materials, and there is no reason why we should deny them this option. 2.4. While a centralized platform for broadcasting and sharing information has its value, limiting ourselves to one solution is recognized as non-constructive and restrictive. A holistic approach would provide a commonly and universally accessible place for major announcements and discussions, while also fully supporting the use and development of different tools, like Synergy, footnote 2.4a, Social, Mumble, footnote 2.4b, Gabi, Wave, Gitterford, etc., that have the potential to surpass the currently used ones. It would also let members, teams and projects explore different solutions that best fit their evolving needs. It is unlikely that any single solution will always work, or even be accessible for everyone. Having a choice of mediums maximizes the ability to contribute and minimizes the risk of complete communication breaks. With all the richness, abundance, in options, provided by a variety of instruments, there is no need for us to take the weaknesses and shortcomings of a monolithic construct. Footnote 2.4c. The emergent nature of our community demands continual improvement of the tools we use. An open, non-authoritative stance that welcomes development is self-evident in its benefits for promoting the movement forward. 2.5 decisions are best arrived at through investigations, analysis and input of interdisciplinary teams that possess the necessary expertise to address all aspects of a specific issue. In other words, decisions that affect the movement should be worked towards openly in a way that maximizes the amount of substantiated input, while minimizing personal and emotional bias. The current practice of individuals and small groups imposing their decisions in the community as a whole, claiming to represent a consensus without ever having gone through a transparent process of decision-making, deprives us both of optimized solutions and active support of our members. In order for us to make any significant progress, we all need to work together towards necessary solutions, instead of being told what is, or what is not, permissible. The majority of communication pathways across the entire movement are privately owned, inhibiting community participation in the development of the communication infrastructure. Is there an intention to move towards a cooperatively owned model of the communication infrastructure? As for now, only with your approval are we able to implement the solutions proposed here, including the main website and the current moderation team. We hope that this letter will open productive discussions and let the whole community actively become involved in the development of all areas of the movement within a flat social structure. More materials detailing problems perceived and solutions to ideas were produced, but not included so as not to overburden this letter. If you need further information, we would be happy to provide it. Best regards, in alphabetic order, Bagsalam, web developer, programming team member and psychologist, psychotherapist, decision-making counselor, web educator for youth, about 100 pupils per week, angelic, neuroscientist, philosopher, arc operator, translator, worldwideweb.angelic.com Apollo, forum moderator, the Venus Project website administrator, designer, creativity coordinator, media, Aragon, web developer, administrator for South African chapter Bokia, programmer, molecular biologist, Collectridus, Swedish chapter spokesman, TCM, wave coordinator, TCM, rep team coordinator, translator, arc operator, technical inventor, Capiscus, Spain chapter Agnon, Prodigal team, translator, open source software developer, Kaperdok, Polish translator, programmer, Cyclo, arc operator, DNS, arcadmin, programming team member, translator, forum moderator, Fusion Halo, forum moderator, Wiki project team, student of social engineering, Gabby Wild, web developer, Wiki, translator, forum moderator, Doodle proofreading project admin, linguistic team coordinator, Hellfire 77, Spanish forum moderator, translator, electronic engineer, Julius, Hungarian chapter admin, translator, forum moderator, Kochen, arc operator, programming team member, Kebab, German, translator, programming team member, Kingston, arc operator, Swedish forum moderator, Quims, philosopher, Jack of all trade, Lucas, physicist, programming team member, global administrator, Lemberger, TCM, rep project coordinator, Nico, molecular biologist, translator, proofreader, McKay, software developer, Paxton, German forum moderator, translator, BST, vertical bracket, Swedish Mumble server operator, server donor, Zeus, German translations. Language managers 3, German TN, newspaper, translator, Sunchecks, C event organizer, philosopher, Michael Fester, South African chapter, translator, C day organizer, South African, etc. Vince's, software developer, programming team member, Viper, translation team member, Vixie, Spanish forum moderator, transcriber, translator, William, Ohio Chapter Agnon, mechanical engineer, programmer, Hackable, band member. Worm D, computer science engineer, transcriber, translator, programming team members. Abby Morpho, musician, compositor, electronic designer. Zook, software developer, programming team member.
Note from G-Man, this reply illustrates that there are a number of things that Peter is not yet aware of, and/or that he has received far too much incorrect background information for him to base his thinking. For example, what the community considers to be a project. I believe this to be our fault for not making him more aware of the facts back when it was first learned that others were passing him incorrect info. Let's think about the best way or ways to fix that instead of continuing to try to convince those who have been sending him incorrect info, regardless of their intentions or awareness that the info was wrong. In other words, please focus only on solutions here. Smiley face. Reply from Peter, arrived February 25th. Hyman is all I have time for right now. Thanks. Specifics. 2.1 An up-to-date list of currently undergoing projects should be clearly visible on the main website, along with information on how they work and how to get involved with them. Most are, though many projects are not implemented yet as well. The major projects constitute dedicated websites. We simply are not there yet. New organizational system will emerge. 2.2 A clear and concise protocol for moderation needs to be properly developed, with significant community input, and to guide the moderation to a more teacher-oriented approach in revision now. New rules will be obvious and protocols transparent for very own. It will take another week or so. Mobs can be teachers, but most, hopefully, should simply guide the content and objectively maintain the rules. This is always hard and is an ongoing development given the nature of conflicting personalities. All mob must agree to our agreed upon rules/protocol, of course. 2.3 Patience and understanding are needed. Of course. This is an ongoing process and we are working to create stability through new constructs. E-level mob team. Muting prevents posting, while still allowing users to read. As a result, most banning by moderators/admins is rendered obsolete. We have dedicated trolls/spammers working to harass and bother. If you were in a room with a person who has the intent and conditioning to be deliberately uncooperative and hence dedicated to causing trouble and confusion, you would be diligent to remove the person initially from the room, as they would be hurting everyone else otherwise. This is the sad reality of the current world. Banning is the only option in severe cases. I can give 100 examples of trolls where talking to them or the like would be non-productive and a waste of time. It has to do with their intent. Muting can be a decent method for moderate problems, however, I agree. Yet, muting assumes that the person will be allowed back to post at some point. This isn't always the case. 2.4 While the centralized platform for broadcasting and sharing information has its value, limiting ourselves to one solution is recognized as non-constructive and restrictive. Solutions are gauged by effect, ease and efficiency. It is really self-regulating. Reason reflects that we need info in one place to be consistent/simple. However, so less is more in this regard. We will always be shifting most likely, as new mediums/advances become available. 2.5 The current practice of individuals and small groups imposing their decisions on the community as a whole, claiming to represent a consensus without ever having gone through a transparent process of decision-making, deprives us both of optimized solutions and active support of our members. In order for us to make any significant progress, we all need to work together towards necessary solutions, instead of being told what is, or what is not, permissible. We have done a good deal of interaction with people to gauge feedback about direction and will continue to improve methods for this interaction. If your idea is to set up a voting system which emails all members to decide every time a person gets banned, or every time we change the color of the site, or every time we alter a rule, I can assure you that such a practice will be counterproductive. I have grown extremely tired of the argument that decisions are made by Peter/admins and no one else. Rather than say Peter decides, why don't people actually listen to why the decision is what it is? For example, we have Mumble and TeamSpeak. There is an argument that, since one is open source and the other is not, we should focus on the open source. Great. But guess what? Mumble has problems which TeamSpeak does not. I'm not going to go into details. If I was to evaluate a machine to be used for a purpose, I would look at its functionality and versatility. This is critical to global access of such a medium. Mumble doesn't meet this code. As far as it being open source, the question thus becomes, do we use a software which is less capable but fits a better philosophy, or do we use a software to meet our needs, even if it is not open source? The answer could only be based on capability, if our focus is action and not philosophy. This brings into question the focus on the movement. At this stage, being dogmatically open source is not going to help. Believe me, I wish it could. Another issue, universal banning. Some argue that banning can occur in one medium but should not pertain to the other. This is so grossly illogical, I don't know what to say. If a person goes into the science and tech category of the forum and posts STEM, should we just ban him from the S&T category and leave him/her to STEM in the other cats? Or how about, where the person chooses to STEM, such as the thread, should be just ban them from that single thread? The ZM website, and other created by us, is a single structure. It can only be treated as such. When all is said and done, the movement isn't even remotely operational. The nitpicking and ego projection I see coming from various cross groups are taking issue with such trivial aspects that I am nothing but disheartened and bored. The focus of the movement is not the forum, the chats, or anything of the like. It is not the website. This movement exists in the chapters and teams which are in their infancy of organization. It is based synchronized understanding which each chapter/team/group initiates on its own, ideally. Once created, it will become a network of shared information and tactics. An international board will be created and direct team action implemented. Also, the teams/process we are using now will eventually be entirely obsolete as we move into the next progressive phase. Peter,